Good morning to everyone and to all those tuning in to this live broadcast from Ananda Sangha here in Bangalore. This reading is from Whispers from Eternity by Paramahansa Yogananda. Entitled, Make us transparent, that thy light may shine through us unimpeded. The sunbeams of thy love shine equally on all the members of thy cosmic family, whether prophet, hero, villain, tiny moth, or weed. It is our own fault we make ourselves opaque by our own mental and emotional dullness. Teach us to wipe away the dirt of error from the windows of our understanding. Our arms are weak for the task, owing to our long inner spiritual resistance. O Master Cleanser, lend power to our efforts that we may wipe away every last spot that clings to our minds, obscuring our transparency and preventing free entry to thy light. O make us fully clean again, invisible in our egos, because transmitting only visions of thy beauty, which lies within us. And from the New Path by Swami Kriyabans. This is drawn from the chapter Original Christianity. Another time in Boston, Yogananda received another remarkable corroboration of his experiences of the reality of Jesus Christ. In meditation, he saw Krishna and Jesus walking together on a sea of golden light. To convince himself, as he put it, though more probably to convince skeptics, including sectarian believers who couldn't imagine Jesus and Krishna sharing the same wave, Yogananda asked for objective verification of his vision. A divine voice replied, "The fragrance of a lotus will remain in the room." All that day, Yogananda told us a lotus aroma, unknown in the West, lingered on in the room. Many visited me throughout the day. "What is that wonderful fragrance?" they asked. I knew then I had been given proof positive that what I had seen was true. In St. Louis one day, Master visited a Roman Catholic monastery. The abbot had seen Yogananda in meditation and knew him for a great saint. The other monks were horrified to see this orange-robed heathen in their midst. When the abbot arrived on the scene, however, he hastened over and embraced Paramahansa lovingly. "Man of God," he cried, "I am happy you have come." When Paramahansa Yogananda visited Teresa Neumann, the great Catholic stigmatist in Bavaria, Germany, she sent word to him she sent word to him, "Though the bishop has asked me to see no one without his permission, I will receive the man of God from India." Yogananda, far from undermining the faith of Christians in their own scriptures, gave many of them renewed faith. One day, a Catholic monk, inspired by an interview with him, begged him that in his prayers he vouchsafe a vision of Jesus. The next day, he came back to Yogananda with tears in his eyes. "Last night," he cried, "for the first time in my life, I saw him." When Yogananda came to the West, he called his mission the Second Coming of Christ. And keep in mind, this was back in the 20s, and that was not exactly a popular thing to utter amongst the Orthodox Christians and so forth. This is the Second Coming of Christ. He was asked to come to the West because, again, he was told by Babaji, by Christ, that the experience of the believers, of those with inner life, was out of balance. They were doing lots of seva, lots of service, but they were forgetting to commune inwardly with God. And so he came to the West to revitalize original Christianity as taught by Christ as taught in the Bible, and then the original yoga as taught by Krishna. And I thought it was fun that, as Swamiji put it, that some would imagine that Krishna and Christ would be sharing the same wave in this vision. And it's amazing to think in this world, although of course I suspect it's fairly obvious, that people that would finally get to the point in their spiritual evolution to be able to forsake materialism enough to begin the first steps of opening their heart and loving God wouldn't see clearly before their eyes that these great saints, without question, in high states of superconsciousness, they wouldn't recognize that they would all be drinking from the same cup, as Yogananda himself had the vision of Christ. And Christ said that the cup that he was drinking from, Yogananda was drinking from as well. And it's why in our prayers when we say saints and sages of all religions, we humbly vow to you all, we mean it. We're not just trying to extend ourselves in this way by saying, well, our path is really the greatest path, but by the way, we should stay expansive, so let's include in our prayer. It's far from the truth. Yogananda, in his own shrines there, especially in Lake Shrine, as I remember, there were many shrines dedicated to all of the saints, because he came as an avatar, as a free soul, not only, of course, to focus on the task that he was given, this world mission, as I shared, to, again, help people in experiencing God in a deeper way and in a balanced way. But he came also to inspire others, and there it is in the path as we were reading, and so inspiring that there in the monastery, all the monks were very upset. Here is this dark-skinned Indian coming, and he'll pollute the monastery. But lucky for them, their abbot was a saint. And he had been given by God a vision of Yogananda. And so he knew the blessing that God was giving him and the monks and the monastery by the arrival of this great saint, Paramahansa Yogananda. And Teresa Neumann, as Yogananda said, in the past she was Mary Magdalene, so close to Christ. It's such a blessing to have these great masters say, oh, by the way, some interesting facts. I was Arjuna in a past lifetime, as Yogananda said, and on he went, and some people think, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I would have never thought. And so it was so sweet that Teresa Neumann, a highly advanced soul who had the stigmata of Christ there on her hands and feet and so forth, and would go through, as we read in the autobiography of a yogi, the Passion of Christ. And when Yogananda was there visiting her on his world tour in the mid-30s, he, because he had the power, was able to tune in to her experience. And it was truly a superconscious experience. His assistant, Richard Wright, at the time, seeing as Teresa Neumann was experiencing the Passion of Christ and bleeding from her wounds and so forth, as she experienced every week, Richard Wright fainted from the sight. It was just too overwhelming for him. And when he came back, Yogananda, in the superconscious state, heard a loud thud on the floor. And not knowing what it was, but when Richard Wright came back, wiping his own wounds, Yogananda said, that was very courageous of you to come back to once again experience this spectacle, but far beyond the extraordinary experience that she had every week in order to strengthen the faith for those that perhaps thought, again, that Jesus Christ was a myth and Krishna is a myth and all of this nonsense. Every once in a while, God comes through these great saints in order to shake up everyone, really. Those that believe can believe on a deeper level. And those that perhaps are suffering from this experience of there is no God and all of that, or sitting on the fence as agnostics do, perhaps they have the good karma to read in the autobiography of Yogi and in other great scriptures that God does come in the form of these great ones in order to shake us away from this sleep of delusion, of separation. And so we find during these very, very powerful times, as we are experiencing now in the Christmas season, and will experience again in a short time during Easter, the resurrection of Christ, that these great ones are very, very much alive, and they have the power to extend themselves even now in order to change our lives. I was we're always, as Yogananda said, you need to make an effort to do something new every day, something creative every day. And so I'm always trying to do that, and it's not easy to even remember to do that. Okay, I missed a whole week of doing something new. What am I going to do? And it's really a deep teaching. And I was thinking to myself, well, it's time to do something new. And sometimes I'll do things outwardly, whatever it might be in my routine, as we all have our daily routine, and that's fine. But this time I thought, well, no, it's time for a bit of an inner shift. And so I thought, well, we're always battling every day to discipline our mind. As a disciplined mind is a happy mind, to try to tune in, especially during this holy season, to Christ and to ask Him to open our hearts and so forth. I was thinking, well, something new. What can I do? Something new. And I thought, well, okay, I have an idea. When thoughts come that are doing nothing for me, shutting my heart down, creating negativity, and so forth, I have something I think that will be effective, and it's I choose joy. So the thought comes in, and it wants to send me off on an errand of worry, and I think I choose joy. And I thought to myself, affirmations, of course, have enormous power, but perhaps this was the right one. You know how it is? You'll chant a chant, and it was maybe something that gave you a lot of inspiration the last couple of days. But this time you chant the chant, and it doesn't quite have as much kick. And you think, oh, God, what is this? And we think, well, Divine Mother wants me to do new things and to be creative. Maybe it's another chant. So we go through our favorite chants, and we don't find any of the chants for the particular state of consciousness that we're in that does the trick. And all of a sudden it's, the spiritual eye. We just got a spiritual eye here gifted to us from our center in West Delhi. And so many people have come up and said, I love that. I love that. It's helped me so much in my spiritual life. And so for us, we have to be creative to understand that God, as Yogananda described, plays hide-go-seek with us. And so even when we are going through, as I like to talk about, our spiritual toolbox, kept by our side 24/7 ideally, we rustle through the toolbox, and sometimes that tried and true something spiritually is not working that day. Why? I haven't understood why. As Yogananda wisely said, some things, questions that we have and so forth, perhaps doubts, need to be suspended until we're realized. And I thought that's a very good thing, because for professional fence sitters especially, and others that think, well, I will not commit until I've worked it all out. How can we work it all out in a state of delusion? It's not possible. We have to be willing to suspend certain things and keep to the basics, as Swami Kriyananda was telling us again and again, which is the message of all the great ones. Stick to the basics, as they share in so many words, so that we don't have to waste precious time by drifting in this world, because these currents that we experience here, they are real. As Yogananda said, thoughts are not individually rooted, they're universally rooted. So they're currents. And that's why, for me, for as long as it'll last, I choose joy. Maybe tomorrow it won't work again and I'll have to find something else. But right now, it's worked for about a week and I've been enjoying it immensely. Because we have to have sentries there, monitoring the thoughts that we have and monitoring the heart and so forth. Because otherwise it's too easy to justify being negative. It's too easy to justify being judgmental and all the things that we fall prey for. And it does nothing. Absolutely nothing for us. That's why, as spiritual people, and we're so fortunate to be on the spiritual path, we have to understand that our battle, until the battle is won, is to stay in a high state of consciousness as much as we possibly can. And when we fall from that state, no excuses. Much valuable time is wasted by saying, the reason my consciousness is dipped is because those dogs in the morning are always barking. So that's why, through lack of sleep, I'm justified to be grumpy and to do things that are not exactly fit for the yogi and the yogini. I'm justified. Because who can live in this way? For goodness sakes, where I used to live was peaceful. And there weren't any dogs. And now I've transferred to the city and there's lots of dogs and all this. This world, as Swami Kriyananda came, I don't think he was complaining, but he shared with Yogananda when they were putting together a lake shrine, which Yogananda called, and truly it's the case, the showcase of this work. What was there in this beautiful natural amphitheater? Gnats. And they were getting in their eyes, and they were getting in their nose. And they were just trying to do a good thing. You would think that God would spare us when we're trying to do seva. But no, He's always playing and always, creating excitement for us. And so Swami said to Yogananda, he said, why, in this beautiful place, do we have to have these gnats? This nuisance. Apparently in the astral world, they're not invited there. And the other nuisances that we have here on this earth, they're not invited. So it's something, again, to look forward to. And Yogananda said, this is because these things, these gnats, are meant to help us always be moving toward God. And so it's all based on right attitude. And when these powerful times come, like we're experiencing in this holy season, this is time to once again get on our knees humbly, even though we feel that we may have a pretty good attitude. When we have a perfect attitude, we'll be free. The problem is that the attitude that we have is still in need of help. Every single day, as Gyanamati Yogananda's most advanced woman disciple said, if I were to give anything to you, and this is so much worth repeating, and so we'll probably repeat it many more times as we have in the past, I would give you right attitude. Because with right attitude, everything is automatically and miraculously put into balance. Whereas when our attitude is off, we're like this. We're careening again off the walls and we can't seem to get our equilibrium because we have a thought, and thoughts have power. Think of it. When we've gotten out of tune, it's been a thought. It's been a shutting down of the heart. And if we don't stand for that nonsense, then we think, okay, what can I do? In some instances, it's probably, at least it's something that I do. I just think, well, Christ was crucified. That was, of course, quite an extraordinary experience that he had and so forth. This is my little crucifixion. What can I do? Maybe for the moment, all I can do is just hold on to the feet of the Guru and say, I just don't have the power at this point to thrust out this Maya. It's too strong. This thought has been with me now a few days and I'm very, very upset about it. And I'm going around in circles and I've been trying to get out of it. So you help me. And so we simply, and it's such a smart thing to do, just hold on to the feet of the Guru. And the next thing we know, we're washed clean. And we think to ourselves, and it's a bit embarrassing and certainly humbling, why was I spending all that time on that ridiculous notion that I was being treated unfairly, or whatever it might be? Because when we turn to the saints, and when we turn to higher consciousness, when we live in our hearts, when we live in our spines, we find that that is the solution. I read recently, and I just love it, and I'm still meditating on it, because in a way it's kind of like the sound of one hand clapping, which always is a mind stopper. This is the sound of one hand clapping from Buddhist teachings and so forth. And this was simply, what was my thought? Well, sometimes that happens. I choose joy. Thank you for that. That's good. Well, this is perfect in a live broadcast. I haven't forgotten what I was saying for a while. I was talking about the sound of one hand clapping. One hand clapping, which stops the mind. Well, if it comes back to me, my concern always is I'll have to wake up at 3 in the morning. It's not the dogs. It's, oh, that's what I was trying to say. Okay? Okay, so we'll continue on. So, back to the thought of tuning into this mystical season. For us, we have to do all that we can to, again and again, and it takes a real tenacity of spirit, to put aside these thoughts and these feelings that clamp our heart and draw our energy down. We have to work very, very hard. That's why Yogananda said, I attract certain people. When that monk decided he was going to create a roof that would last for centuries, perhaps, there in the desert. And it's a very inconvenient time, because Yogananda was there interpreting the scriptures, the Gita and so forth, and the last thing he needed was to have his roof repaired. But Jerry Torgerson got in his mind, as we get these thoughts in our minds, to create for Yogananda, as a gift for his guru, this roof. And so he tore off the roof. And what did Yogananda say? Hurry, hurry! Because he knew, because of his power, that no doubt Divine Mother was going to have some fun, which she did. And a rainstorm happened. And the tar paper was there, but there were all of these nails. And so it was holes everywhere. And Yogananda and others and so forth were running around there in the desert retreat with buckets to catch the water. There were buckets everywhere. But as he said, Divine Mother didn't want his work to be interrupted. And so one drop fell there in the bucket, there in his dictation room, and another bucket fell in his bare chest when he was resting there in his bedroom. And I thought, how sweet, because it was a miracle. The place was an absolute sieve. And so for us, what we can do in this holy season, during this time, where the presence of Christ is very, very strong, we can see that somehow, some way, with the blessings of God and the great ones, we can keep our hearts open. And we can keep our hearts open more and more every day. And as we're able to do that, we find that this cleansing, this purification that God and the great ones want to do for us is made so much easier by our receptivity. So God bless you. We hope that this Christmas season is a very, very powerful one. And we would highly recommend that we take on this particular job. And the job is to dance or hop from auspicious time on the calendar to auspicious time. So we go to Master's birthday, January 5th. Of course, the New Year is a fabulous time to reaffirm good habits and so forth. And Yogananda's Mahasamadhi and the many, many events that we'll be experiencing in the year 2017. And in that way, we keep ourselves supercharged. We don't fall prey to the currents of this world that are meant to test us, that are meant to draw us down. We stay in higher states of consciousness. So, God bless you. We hope again that you have a happy Christmas and an upcoming Happy New Year.